3, 2, 1. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Today is Sunday. What is today? January 31st on a Sunday.
Already.
It is approximately 4:05 p.m. on a beautiful afternoon here in El Paso, Texas. As always, guys, co-host of the podcast, Mr. Misael is here with us. Misa, say what's up.
Yo, what it do?
We do not have a producer today, guys. We're flying the ship solo. But with us today is friend of the podcast, UFC fighter. Her name is Cortney Casey. Cortney, say what's up to the podcast.
What up, podcast?
What's going on, Courtney?
What's up, Cortney? Thank you for being here today. I haven't talked to you in a long time. The story of how I know you is fucking crazy, but we'll get into all that. But thank you for being here today. Where are you coming from live today? I know you're not an EP, so where are you coming from?
Glendale, Arizona.
Okay.
Glendale, Arizona.
From the casa.
Nice. So live from your house in Glendale, Arizona. Hell yeah. Well, thank you for being here today, guys. This is episode 61. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, liking us on Instagram, YouTube, guys. Hit the subscribe button so that you can see each time that we drop an episode. So before we kick off the podcast, guys, there's a tradition unlike any other, and it's called the cracking of the celebratory beer. And it sounds a little bit like this. Cheers, guys. Cheers to everybody. Courtney, cheers if you're drinking anything or not.
I got some water.
Got some water, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, what did we expect, guys? Okay. So cheers, guys.
Oh, dude, that was cold, dude.
Okay, Ms. Courtney, we have a lot of catching up to do real fast. The last time I saw you was probably like circa 2009, working at DC Shoes. And life has changed dramatically for both of us. So go ahead and give me if you had to give me a life status update of yourself, how would you do so? Go ahead and do that.
From then till now or right now?
Like just right now, like where you're at right now, and then we'll get into how you got there.
Okay. Right now, just a normal person. And then I fight every now and then when I get the call. I'm here in Arizona with my boyfriend and our son and our roommate. And of course, all my family's here in Arizona. They're in Mesa, Arizona, and Santan. Other than that, yeah, I train 2 to 3 times a day and hang out with my family and
Living the life.
Try to stay in shape as best I can.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about your son. I noticed on IG and seeing on your Facebook that you post them. You know, it was recently the holidays, so I saw the family pictures. So tell us a little bit about your son, and then how you got into this relationship that you're in now.
Kingston Joseph, he's 2. He'll be 3 in July. My relationship with his father, we met at the gym. We were both training out of the MMA lab in Glendale, and I moved back here I don't know, about 4 years ago. I lived in Maui, Hawaii for a little bit, and then I moved down here. And we were training for about a year together. I was doing his meal plans and helping him with his weight cuts and things like that. And then that's just kind of how, things blossomed.
Yeah, shout out to you. So let me give you a round of applause for that.
Hey, real quick, dude. She said she works out like 3 times a day. Dude,
No,
I haven't done it once this whole year. Right.
Well, dude, it's only that.
It's my job. It's my job, though.
Oh, yeah.
And that's true. Yeah, it's in her job description to stay physically fit because, and I'm sure you've learned from your past that when you get that call, like you got to be ready. You know what I mean? Because those opportunities, they come and go. So you got to be ready when it's your turn. So we'll get into the fighting in a little bit. I still wanted to talk to you about you grew up in Arizona, right? So what was that like upbringing like?
It was good. I mean, we grew up, me and my sister were born in Tucson, and then my parents separated, and my mom met my dad now. And we moved up to Mesa, Arizona, where we pretty much grew up in Mesa, Arizona. We moved from Tucson to Mesa. I think I was in 4th grade, like going into 4th grade, and she was going into 5th grade. So we were still pretty young.
Nice. And then when do you remember getting the urge to like want to do combat sports, or like where did that come from?
Who
Like,
pissed you off?
who pissed?
My sister.
It always starts with that.
It's the sibling rivalry, always.
I just always loved martial arts as a kid. My neighbor down in Tucson, Alexander, he was into karate, and my mom being a single mom, and my dad, obviously, my mom was a single mother in the household, but I mean, my father was very present. It was just hard between their schedules, their work schedule, having two children and with two completely different interests. So I just would wait for him to come back from karate, and he would show me everything that he learned. And we would do karate in the backyard and stuff like that. But I loved watching martial art films and a lot of boxing with my dad and things like that. So I'm not necessarily sure when it started, but I always really had an interest in it.
So it kind of all came from your dad. Your dad's just showing you, practicing with you. It's kind of when you really started getting into it.
More movies. I think it was more movies. My dad was really into like karate movies and things like that. So I just watched movies. When we would go over to my dad's house, we would go to Blockbuster. My sister got to pick a movie. I got to pick a movie, and then we got to pick a family movie. So I'd go, to the martial arts section and get a movie, get her a movie, and that's kind of how it was. And then obviously with my neighbor friend growing up started doing karate, like I just got more interested in it.
Nice. So like, what was like, to like kind of get like an idea of like how you grew up? Like your sister was into like what was she into?
She was in sports too. But she just wasn't really into martial arts. She's very, she's a kind-hearted, sweet, more kind of keeps to herself. I was more, rambunctious, I guess you can say. We both were tomboys. I mean, we grew up in a neighborhood where pretty much all the kids our age were boys. So we just played with the boys. And our house was in the cul-de-sac. So everyone would come to the cul-de-sac and play.
True.
So, we ran the block.
Those neighborhood dynamics, bro. You start establishing yourself as a person at a real young age. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got the basketball hoop.
Hey, cul-de-sacs, dude. I had a friend, Josh Center. That's where we all hang out because his house was at a cul-de-sac, bro. Just put a basketball court out there, dude. Nobody bothered you.
It's the rallying point.
In the cul-de-sac, we would throw rocks in the cul-de-sac, like just a whole bunch of rocks, and then we'd ride our bikes and like bunny hop, try to go through, like zigzag through them as close as we can, and just random things. You can do anything.
That's a funny word, dude. Just saying.
Going back to renting movies, what was your favorite like ninja movie? Like I remember watching Three Ninjas. Dude, that shit was cool as fuck.
If you have Hulu, it's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu?
Okay. Oh, yeah, it is.
I'm doing that after this because, like, I used to watch that movie a fuckload. Like, I love that fucking movie. And they had, like, I think they had three of them.
Three of them, yeah. Three Ninjas Strike Back, I think, and then another one.
And I think they were all fucking cool. I think I remember liking them.
They were all good. They were all good.
So what was your go-to martial arts movie as a kid?
Best of the Best.
Okay.
Best of the Best, Bloodsport, and Kickboxer.
Okay. Have you seen any of those?
Dude, no, I gotta look that up.
Are those like super hardcore like martial art movies? Or I was thinking like something with like Jackie Chan or something.
Wait, you've never seen Bloodsport or Kickboxer?
Look it up, Chris.
No,
look it up.
I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Best of the Best, that's a gem. Like that's a really good one. Not a lot. I mean, true martial art fans, I feel like have watched it, but like Kickboxer and Bloodsport, that's on TV all the time.
Okay, yeah. Bloodsport was released in 1988. Okay. And then what was the other one you said?
Kickboxer, which is also a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Oh, if that is in that movie.
And then Best of the Best. Best of the Best has Eric Roberts in it, which is Julia Roberts' brother.
Okay, I've seen this movie. I've seen the cover of the Kickboxer movie.
Yeah, when you see a guy without a shirt in the front of the movie, the dude that's
crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go and watch these movies because I honestly, and I'm being totally honest, had never even like watched any of those movies before.
This guy doesn't watch movies.
Yeah, I'm not really like a movie guy. If I tell you my favorite martial arts movie is Three Ninjas, that should be like a fucking red flag. I'm like,
I mean, if I'm going like with a kid's karate movie, Three Ninjas obviously is one of the best.
All right, what about you?
So I give you that.
What about you, Lisa?
I used to watch a lot of like Jet Li movies.
Okay, I respect that. A lot of people did that.
I'm not a huge Jet Li fan.
Oh,
you're not?
No, and I know I'm just not.
Wow.
Why not? I mean, I usually fight people that say that, but I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna skip that on this one.
You're gonna sit this one out.
I'm gonna see, dude.
Yeah, dude. Trust me, you do not want to either fight or wrestle Courtney. Trust me, we'll get into that a little bit.
Jelly, dude.
But okay, so how did you end up in El Paso? Like, did you end up here because you played soccer at UTEP, or like what? Like, is that the sole reason that you got here?
Yeah, sole reason. The sole reason. I didn't even know the University of Texas El Paso was a school until I got a letter. And it was actually a letter that I had like tossed away as a not a tossed away, but I kind of said like I had already replied to it. My mom was going through all my recruitment letters and she's like, he didn't even open this one. And I was like, because I didn't know what it was. You know, I was looking for, big schools that I knew of, that I was
like a community college or something.
Yeah. Then I got the letter, I read it, and I was like, man, full ride scholarship, 5 years.
Nice. So
I'll do it.
Like, to give us like a taste of like what it was like being recruited, like who else was like recruiting you besides UTEP?
ASU, U of A, BYU, Hawaii. Man, I had a letter from Pepperdine.
Dang.
A whole bunch of them. A lot of like Metro State, like some Division II schools and stuff like that. I always wanted to go to D1 school, so I ended up going to a D1 school.
Nice. So what position did you play in soccer?
I was mainly a striker, but I played everywhere. When I got to UTEP, I played striker my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and I think my senior year I started moving around a little bit. They kind of kept me on the field as much as possible, so I was like midfielder, outside mid. Played. We had a girl get injured, one of our defenders, and I kind of stepped up and was like, I'll play defense. I could still score out of the back, so.
You play like a right back or left back?
Whatever. Left or right. It didn't.
Right.
Whatever sideline. Normally whatever sideline our team was on, that's what I would stay on. So I would just flip flop.
Okay, cool. That's what's up. So you played 4 years, or did you play a fifth year?
4 years. So I was the only true senior on the team.
Okay, nice.
So no red shirt years, no nothing.
True athlete, dude.
Do you have like your most memorable game or moment while playing soccer for UTEP?
I think maybe it was my sophomore year, maybe. I came off the bench. We were playing Colorado College. I think that's what they are, Colorado College. I don't know. We were Colorado team. We did not like them. They were tough. It was just always a back and forth. But I came off the bench and I got an assist and a goal. And so I think the assist was the tire and then the goal was the game winner.
Oh yeah.
Or vice versa. I'm not sure how it went, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was big.
Yeah, I'm sure it felt fucking amazing scoring like a game winner. Even at the collegiate level, you're just like girl, let's go. Yeah.
You know how
I had fun. I always had fun playing. College was college, being college athlete's tough. But when it came to, Friday night games, especially home games and, rival games and things like that, it was always fun. I think that's what kind of got me through, is knowing that at the end of the week, I'll be able to play a game.
Okay. That's what's up. That's dope. Yeah. And then I guess living the life of a student athlete, it's tough because they demand a lot of you, you got to have your academics, you got to go to work out every day, you got to practice, and then you still have to travel and then do all that and then play the game. You know what I mean? So is there anything you miss about that, or are you better off doing what you're doing now?
I miss soccer a lot. I really do. My senior year, I had a pretty bad injury and I had to battle through that for the last, it was senior night it happened. So I would say probably the next 6-7 games, because we went into the conference tournament after that. So, I don't know. It was, I just wish I could have done a little bit more as far as soccer. In between my junior and senior year, I went and played for the Seattle Sounders, semi-pro.
That's what's up.
And then came back and played my senior year. But yeah, I just wish I would have been able to do a little bit more after, my college career. But, things happen and I was able to start fighting.
What kind of injury did you suffer?
I shattered my tailbone.
Oh, Jesus. How'd you do that?
I got taken out by the goalkeeper.
Ooh. So what it was like set the scene? Was it like a cross or like, what was it? Like a corner kick or what?
I can't even, honestly, I can't even remember. It was so long ago. I think it was a cross, like a corner kick or something like that. And I went up and I just kind of got undercut and I fell on my butt.
Oh my God.
And like normally, like when you like bruise your tailbone, you break your tailbone, you like break it at the tip. And I like broke it like up here and then like continue to play and run. And I was like, dude, there's something wrong with my legs. Like then my leg would go numb and they're like, oh no, you're fine.
You're good.
You can still move it.
Back, and I was like, no, there's something wrong. And finally, like 6 months later, I finally went and got an X and like, cause they thought it was my back cause I was getting paralysis in my leg, but the x-ray was fine. And finally, they were sending me to a chiropractor and the chiropractor's like, well, have you ever got your like a little bit lower x-ray, like your back and butt? And I was like, no. And then they finally did. And the doctor came out and he's like, oh, you broke your ass. And I was like,
it's like problem solved. Like your fucking ass is broken. No wonder. Like fucking
man, it was terrible going to class, like sitting, running, like
I can only imagine
for
sitting
6
like
months, dude. 6 months doing that, dude. My ass is hurting right now. Talking.
Yeah, so I played all the way through like I don't know, whatever season comes. I don't know if it's spring season, I guess, like when, I don't know, I guess spring season. So we don't technically they don't play us a lot. We just travel with the team and they use us because they start playing all the freshmen and things like that.
Yeah.
But still traveling and, getting some minutes and things like that. It was just a lot.
Okay. So let's transition from the soccer talk here. I want to get into the way that we met each other. And I was telling Misa, like, the way we met each other is super random. And then, like, now looking back, like, in hindsight, you're like, wow, like, fucking, who would have thought back in, like, 2009, which is when I believe I met you. Who would have thought that, like, like 11 years later down the road, like, we would, like, be able to reconvene in a setting like this where we're doing a fucking podcast, you know what I mean? And honestly, we just turned on the fucking Zoom meeting and we were like, hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, let's start this up right now.
There was like, no, like, cause I mean, we talked through text, but like, we were just texting like in regards to this or like scheduling this. And before I hadn't talked to Casey in like fucking 10 years because she was just doing her thing, but I had followed her like since way back on Facebook and I had her on IG. So like, there's always been that connection, but the way we know each other, guys, is we used to work at DC Shoes at the outlet mall, which is no longer there. The store is no longer there. The outlet mall is still there. Don't panic, people. Chill out. The store's out there. If I remember correctly, like you knew like Ray Corona, right? Is that how you fucking got there? Is that how that worked? Or Tony?
No, I didn't know anyone.
Oh, you didn't know anyone?
I don't know if you remember, Jessica Salvi came in. So she worked there for a little bit. So she went and worked there. So she was our goalkeeper. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go apply to DC Shoes. And
that's what I was going to say.
My mom's like, you got to get a job. And I was like, all right, sweet, I'll get a job.
Yeah, Cortney had a friend that worked there too, but she also played soccer.
Oh,
I remember that. And I forgot. Yeah, I forgot her name. What was her name again?
Jessica Salvi.
Jessica. Okay.
Yeah.
What's up? Okay. So we started working there, and I think you were working there before me, right?
I think so. And then you got hired, and man, we worked, I think only not too long together at DC. And then I got moved over to Quicksilver. They brought me over to Quicksilver. So I just went across the way to Quicksilver.
Across the way. Yeah. Yeah. Back in the day, Quicksilver was also at the outlet, and they were like the parent company to DC Shoes. So, like we knew like everybody that worked at Quicksilver, and everyone that worked at Quicksilver knew us. So it was like a big mingling of people. But I remember like, and I don't even know how this started, but we would like grapple each other. Like I don't even know where I got this idea, because like I knew you were fighting back then.
Yeah.
And I was like a senior, like I had just gotten out of high school. Like I was just like fucking being dumb or whatever. And then I don't know why.
Fights with people, dude, just like that. And you picked on Cortney.
I think he was like, I think he said, I don't think you can take me down. And I was like, I can take you down. And then it went like from I don't think you can take me down to I don't think you can choke me out. Then it started like then there was like a time frame, like we had to do it. But I feel like at the end of it, it was all on camera.
It was.
And then Ray, like, because Ray was like the head of Quicksilver, but he kind of like oversaw DC a little bit too, right?
Yeah, because they were like changing managers at that time, so they relied on Ray. Yeah,
he was like, "What is going on in the store? You guys can't be doing this. Like, this is sexual harassment. This is that. Like, just delete it. Like, don't show anyone. Like, the store's dead. Like."
Yeah, we would like, okay, so when you would walk into the store, obviously there'd be like, there's a fuckload of space. There's a bunch of shoes and stuff. So we would move like the furniture and make like this, like we would clear like the concrete and like get down. We would wrestle like in the store. Like
you told me, I remember Chris told me this story a while back and he's all like, dude, she almost broke my arm in like less than 15 seconds.
He didn't want to tap. And I was like, tap. And he's like, no. And I was like, tap. And I was like, I'm going to break it. Like,
oh,
Chris, what were
Mama
you
ain't raised no bitch, bro. Mama ain't raised no bitch. I wasn't tapping for no one. Dude, and then looking back now, I'm like, God, you're so fucking stupid, Chris. Like, she could have fucking killed you if she wanted to.
Yeah, dude. Maybe that gave her motivation to like, dude, if I could kick Chris's ass.
I kick Chris's butt. Yeah, I definitely can. I can do this for a living for sure.
Yeah, well, she was like, oh, I beat
competition.
Yeah. She straight up roasted me right now. But for real, like, shout out to all like the DC Quicksilver crew, like Antonio Don, fucking Ray Corona, fucking Rigo. Do you remember Isaac, big tall ass Isaac?
Yeah, big tall Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like,
like who was the white guy that was Ray's best friend?
Oh, fucking
Roseberg, Rose. Remember who was his last name? Like Roseberry or something like that. Chris.
Yeah. Chris and Sean also. That was another fucking guy that was there. But yeah.
Oh, Sean, the stoner kid.
Yes. Yeah, there's always got to be one else. Yeah.
I love that kid. He was the best. He's like, oh, I'm just going to price override this. Price override.
He was just changing the prices of whatever he wanted. I wonder why that store went out of business. Like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, people getting choked out. Running up the
lawsuits waiting to happen all over the fucking
place. Waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's funny. So okay. So I remember like back in those days, you were kind of like fighting like in what's that place called? Lordsburg, right?
Lordsburg, New Mexico.
So how did that start? Like, how did you even get into contact with people over there to start fighting?
It happened quick. All that stuff happened quick. So I started training jiu-jitsu and I only was doing it for like 3 months. And then they had like a tournament, like a Naga or some kind of tournament that came to El Paso. So I entered that. It was all guys. I won. And there was some guy at the time, he was from Roswell, New Mexico. And he was putting on a show in like another 3 months. He's like, hey, have you ever considered doing MMA? And I was like, no, but what's up? And he's like, well, I got this girl who's 0-0. Like, would you, amateur, would you want to fight her? And I was like, yeah, sure. When is it? And he told me, and I was like, all right. So I started training for that fight, which was like 3 months later. So in total of 6 months, I had a jiu-jitsu tournament and then my first fight. And I won that fight. It was double down promotion. And I won in the third round by armbar. And the guy paid me all in $2 bills. Like that was yeah. So like
why did he do that?
That was like because it was double down promotion. So he had to go to all these banks to get all their $2 bills so he could pay the fighters for whatever tickets they sold.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
And then I had made a deal with him because as an amateur you really can't get paid. So I had made a deal with him about ticket sales and then him having to pay my gas for driving and things like that. And he, so he did that. So I think I only made like $300, but still it's good, considering most amateurs fight for free or only ticket sales.
Right.
And then from there, I went to Lordsburg, New Mexico, where I fought, a few times there. And then I moved back to Arizona. Wow. And I took a little bit of time off there. like about a year just to train. Because when I got to Arizona, they're like, look, dude, you have barely been, training. You've only training less than a year almost, and you already have 4 fights. Like, you need to train a little bit more, and then we'll get you some better fights and some bigger promotions, because those promotions were super small.
Right.
And then, from there, I fought, I think, 2 fights in Arizona. I won 2 belts, and then I went to Tough Enough, which is like the biggest amateur organization, I think. I mean, arguably it really is, but in my eyes, it's ran better than some of the pro organizations as well, and that's out of Vegas.
Okay.
And I went there and fought there, and then my second fight, I fought for the belt, and then I had a title defense. I won, and then I had a title defense, and then after that, I got picked up to a major pro organization, and then it just slowly.
It just went from there. That's
crazy,
what's up,
dude.
Like, so, like, the way you got all these connections was just from like meeting like different promoters, or like what?
Yeah, it's just meeting different promoters.
Showing up.
I don't know if you guys ever seen like Dana White looking for a fight. Like, he has like a whole thing where him and his crew go, and they go to these smaller organizations, and they look for fighters, like potential fighters. Well, that's been going on forever. So other promoters will go to other shows, or they'll send someone to go to other shows to find talent, and then they, book them to fight. As long as, most of the time, it's like within a small area, within like a couple states where it's cheap to fly them, or they can drive, things like that.
Right. And where you can like communicate real easy, and it doesn't cost people a lot of money.
It doesn't cost people, because the amateurs aren't getting paid. So
right.
most shows they're putting on, it's a big show, and they have like 2 really good guys or 3 really good guys that are pro guys, but the rest of the whole other show is all amateurs. Right. But to a normal person like you guys who just come to watch the fights, they see guys beating each other up and don't understand that there's a difference between the amateurs and the pros. They're just like, well, this guy's not throwing elbows, Yeah. Because we don't, as amateurs, we don't wear headgear or shin guards or anything like that. We look exactly the same as the pro guys, except for our rounds are 3 minutes. And then there's no elbows, and there's no knees to the head.
Okay.
But to a normal person, you guys don't know, because sometimes there's pro guys that don't throw elbows,
Right.
I'm not gonna. So you guys, it's just fights.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to tell the difference between like an amateur and like somebody who's getting paid. You know what I mean? Like, right away, you're just like, I want to be entertained. That's like what you watch for, and then you just look like for the knockout. Like, that's what it's about. Unless you're like a big fan. Then you start getting into like the details and like, like understanding like the moves and the way that they're fighting and their strategy behind it, because obviously all that is there. But like, were like all these fights were like, they like on Facebook, or like, were they like streamed anywhere? Or was it all just like
Facebook had like a Facebook Live? Like, they didn't have Facebook Live or anything at the time. So it was
just
MySpace.
You
would just get your DVD. You could ask for the DVD if they were lucky to give you a DVD at like 3 months after the fight.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and during that time, did you ever like have doubts, or did you ever just think like, nah, I'm done with this, I don't want to continue?
I was working full time at the time as well, so I really was just doing it as being an athlete my entire life. It was just fun to compete in something. It was fun to train. I mean, going from training your entire life since you were a kid to all of a sudden not having anything to train for was weird to me. So when I got hurt, like, I was like, I got to do something. So I started doing, yoga. And then I was like, dude, you can't compete in yoga. Like, 'cause at the time I was recovering from my tailbone. So like, I wanted to do something. And then a classmate was like, hey, come to the gym. And I thought we were going to go lift. And he took me to Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And then from there, that's just kind of how it started.
Started putting different arm bars.
It filled that void for me. But it was never in my head like, I'm going to go do this as a profession. It was just something that I could train every day. I could learn something new every day. And then if I get a phone call to fight, I get a phone call to fight, and I make a little money.
Dude.
I just want to go back and laugh at something you said. You're like, I tried yoga and I just wasn't satisfied with the competition level. Like, she's like, I can only imagine Cortney like in a yoga class, right? Everybody's got mats on the floor, and then she's like, just trying to what's good? Like, you know what I mean? Or she's like, I can fucking meditate like super better than you. And then like, they're like, man, Miss Casey, like,
well, you know how they do
here to
it.
relax.
Yeah. They'll tell you, be like, and if you want to move on to the advanced position, you can do this. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking doing that.
She shows up to the yoga with like background music and like somebody walking in with a belt.
Smoke machine.
Oh shit, that's hilarious. Yeah, because I was thinking like what Misa said, like, yeah, was there ever like a point in time like where like you're like, is this really worth it? But for you, it was kind of like it wasn't set up in that way. It was kind of like an outlet for you to train because you wanted to be disciplined and conditioned and like have like a routine. And then it turned into developing into something that you can like make a living off of. You know what I mean? So that right there is crazy. And like, I think that also shows like how committed you are to just like, you know, being like an athlete, you know, because that's not just something that people understand. Like it's an everyday thing to be a fucking athlete. It's not you just show up to the game and play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. Like being an athlete's like 100% a lifestyle. And no matter what you do, whether you're doing soccer, basketball, you know, football or martial arts, like you literally have to just live it. You have to wake up every morning. You have to have a routine. You have to eat healthy. You have to, you know, make sure your body's, you know, your body, your mind, everything. And then with martial arts, there's so many different things you have to learn that you'll never learn it all. Like you'll just never learn it all. You can start jiu-jitsu at the age of 4 and go all the way to 90 and still not learn everything.
Right.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, because as an art or like quote unquote art, martial arts, like there's so much under the umbrella, like all these different fighting styles, and like to learn one and then be introduced into another one, it's like almost hitting the reset button, you know? So it's kind of like,
and it just evolves. Like it evolves. Like the game of basketball evolves, but it's still, you got to put the ball in the hoop.
right.
It's not like people are shooting the ball like crazy different or like kicking it in, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. You just get better at it. You know what I mean? They're now making 3-point shots from half court like consistently. But at the end of the day, like with even just for instance, jiu-jitsu, like it goes from arm bars, triangles, omoplatas, you know, barambolos, going upside down. Like the game evolves every month, let alone every year. You know what I mean? Where basketball has been basketball from day one.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. Like if you skip a couple practices at basketball, like you still can go back on the court and still shoot some hoops. You skip a week or a day in jiu-jitsu and you're lost because everyone else, it just evolves so quickly.
Right.
That's crazy, dude. Chris, you should start doing jiu-jitsu and then like challenge Cortney again.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. I think, no, actually, like I retired after like we had our bout at BC. Like,
your
arms,
was
like, yeah.
He was the cream of the crop, and I just came in there and just destroyed him. So I was like, there was nowhere else for him to go after that.
You crushed his dreams. Now he had to start a podcast because of that.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to be a fighter. But I think what we can all take away from this is that I am the start of your UFC career. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it all started with me.
Hey, you never top out.
If I would have tapped, you would have given up. But no, I never did.
God bless Chris.
All right, so we are coming up on the 34th minute mark here, guys. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk to Miss Cortney a little bit about like how she really got into like the UFC and like getting into like fighting at that level, because obviously we talked about how, you know, there's levels to this and you know, it's always changing and evolving. So you have to be at the peak of your performance. So we'll get into that. And then we have a new segment, right, Misa, that we're going to premiere today. It's going to be called What Makes Me Rage. So it's kind of like a grind my gears segment, but we'll do a little bit of that towards the end. And then we'll do 5 random questions to cap it off. So with that being said, guys, episode number 61, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe. We're going to take this break and we will be right back. All right, one more time. Yo, what's good? It's your boy Hoodie Chris from Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. I'm here to tell you guys about I&I Glass. Their link is below. You need to go check them out. I&I Glass makes handcrafted glass products locally here in the 915. And they range in uses from pipes, decorations, jewelry, pendants, and more. My boy Luis even got himself a goddamn hummingbird, bruh. So make sure you guys go hit up my boy, Aaron Lee, and tell him that Chris and Misa sent you from the podcast. And go support a local El Paso business today. Let's go. All right, guys, we are back from our break. Episode number 61, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Like we've said 1,000 times, guys, go follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Matter of fact, shout out to Misa's sister. She was our 200th subscriber today. My
sister, Vivian.
Shout out to that.
It took 199 people to subscribe first in order for her to jump on in.
What a great sister, dude. Here, a round of applause for that.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. For episode 61, like we said, we're with our friend of the podcast, Miss Cortney Casey. How are you feeling the vibe today?
Good. Vibes good. I wish I had a beer with you guys, but camp life.
Yeah,
I would save you one, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, it's totally understandable. Maybe like we can catch you at another time in the future and we can have a drink together. I think that would really like be cool because it kind of does shift the vibe. When,
for sure.
When you kind of like have a drink with somebody, but it's real cool. So thank you once again for being here today. So we kind of wanted to talk to you. Like we, in the first half was just getting to know you. We want our audience to get to know you a little bit, kind of see where you're coming from and like how you grew up and, what your path was to get to where you are now. So you have fought in UFC several cards. You were on the Ultimate Fighter, right? So tell us.
No, she wasn't.
No, you weren't on the Ultimate Fighter? Or what is it? The UFC Fight Night. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. Well, but fight nights are just like regular cards.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris. Real quick.
Man.
My bad. I dropped the ball on that one. Okay, so tell us how you got into that. Like, where'd that relationship come from, and then how? Like, I'm assuming the very first time you fight for UFC, that's different than anything that you've done before, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. The first one was crazy. So like I said earlier, I fought for Tough Enough, which was the biggest amateur organization, and from there I got picked up to XFC, which was a major organization on network TV, which was on Access TV. So I never really fought any local pro shows. I went straight to a mainstream, pro organization.
Nice.
And that first one, you won by TKO, right? First round?
First one I won by submission. Yeah. Second fight was a title fight. I lost that fight. And then the XFC was in this weird buying thing and moving to Brazil and all this kind of weird stuff. So we were kind of stuck in this weird contract because they weren't putting on shows, but yet we weren't allowed to be out of our contract. And then it was a whole big ordeal. So I took almost like a year off, and then my contract lapsed. So I was able to get out of my contracts, and I ended up signing with PXC, which was a big organization over in like Asia and stuff. So I fought in Manila, the Philippines, Manila, Guam, and then Manila. So I fought in Manila twice, Manila, Guam, Manila. But so that was a big organization over there where they signed a lot of, UFC was signing a lot of guys from there. But at the time when I was an amateur, I fought all my amateur career and my first two pro fights in XFC at 125. And then when I went to the Philippines and signed with PXC, I fought at 115 pounds. And at the time, UFC only had a 135-pound division, which was Ronda Rousey's division. And then they opened up the 115-pound division where they had the Ultimate Fighter show, which I was not on.
You get that, Chris?
No, I know. I read it in this thing that I saw about you, but obviously don't trust everything you read on the internet, guys.
Yeah, don't trust it. So I went on a 3-fight win streak over there, but I fought one of my fights at 110 pounds. And with that win, I got ranked as an atomweight. And Invicta at the time was the biggest, like, all women's. Well, it's the only all women's promotion, and they wanted to sign me. So I ended up signing with Invicta, and again, for some reason, they went on like a 6 months hiatus and didn't have any shows. And in that time, the Ultimate Fighter was going on for the 115-pound division. When that ended, all those girls were starting to fight. And JoJo Calderwood, her fight ended up falling out, and it was in her hometown of Scotland. And I got a phone call saying, "Hey, do you want to fight JoJo Calderwood for the UFC?" And I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Sweet. It's in 10 days."
Oh, Christ.
And I was like, shit. So at the time I was in Hawaii. I was living in Hawaii, but I was just so happened to be down in Arizona visiting my family. So I was in Arizona, got the phone call. Granted, I had 10 days. So I had 10 days to fill out all my paperwork, fly back to Hawaii, train, cut weight, go to Scotland, and fight, all in 10 days. And I didn't know wasn't even cleared to fight until the day of weigh-ins. Because when I got to Scotland, I had to get my brain scanned and my heart done and all that stuff to be able to be cleared to fight. So I'm cutting weight, doing all this, and still don't even know if I'm going to fight. And then finally I got a text message after the ceremonial weigh-ins that all my stuff was good to go. So yeah, I fought my first fight in the UFC on 10 days notice against JoJo Calderwood, who was number 9th in the world at the time, in her hometown of Scotland.
Okay, so how crazy was that place that you guys were fighting in? Like, what was the atmosphere like?
Nuts. It was crazy. We came out and it was crazy, like so loud. And then she came out and it got even louder. During the fight, it was so loud, like it was crazy.
Couldn't hear the bell.
That was my second fight. My second fight got so loud we couldn't hear the bells. And the ref had to jump in.
Oh,
damn, that's crazy, dude. Okay, so I guess kind of put me like in your head when you're like going over there to Scotland. Like, when does it like really set in? You're like, oh shit, I'm about to make my UFC debut. Like, what is that like?
It was. I don't think I ever got to process it because it was so quick,
so fast.
It was so fast. I think after the fight. When things started settling down and we were on our way back to the bus, or we were actually on the bus on the way back to the hotel, and the person sitting in front of me turned around and was like, "Hey, congratulations." And I lost the fight, and I was like, thanks. And I was like, coach, and I was like, I lost. And he's like, yeah, that was weird. And then the other guy, like 2 seats up, turned around and he's like, "Hey, congrats, your fight was awesome. You got fight of the night." And I was like, what? And then I ended up getting fight of the night bonus. So that made everything a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're like, hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Okay, I did make some money tonight.
Yeah, that's dope.
It probably hit her like 10 days after the fight. Like, yo, did I just fight in the UFC? Was that me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, I mean, what was your family's reaction to that? I'm sure they were like super pumped for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, my family's been super supportive of the whole journey. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. My mom actually ended up flying out to the fight, which was cool. She pretty much just dropped everything and was like, "I'm not missing this." And from a mom who didn't want to watch any of my fights to like, "I'm not missing it," was pretty cool.
Right.
That's awesome.
And then not only just like it's a fight, it's in fucking Scotland. Like, goddamn.
Fighting the number 9 in the world.
So, and like, how would you compare fighting over there, like in Scotland, to like fighting in like these Asian countries? Is it like similar? Is it just like totally
bigger? It was just bigger. I mean, obviously the UFC is a bigger promotion. And fighting a hometown girl and things like that, it's a little bit different.
Right.
So after I got that one out of the way, and then my second fight was Sohee Ham, which she was like the first fighter from her country to, make it in the UFC, only female fighter. So that fight was crazy. We got fight of the night again. And then I think I fought like Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. And then that felt like normal again. You know what I mean? Because I was going over to these like hostile territories, fighting their hometown girls, and it was just more atmosphere and the vibe because they're in their hometown.
Yeah, everybody's against you at that point. You know what I mean?
That whole country's against you.
Not even the whole arena. The whole guy. As soon as you get there, they're like, "Fuck this."
Yeah,
You're like, you better fucking lose.
when I fought in Brazil, same thing, and they're chanting, "They're gonna kill you." You know, you're gonna die. Their chant is like, "You're gonna die," or something like that.
They're waving guns too. I'm sure that's
crazy.
Great hospitality, Brazil. Great hospitality. Way to make your fighters feel fucking welcome.
Jesus, dude. We should start doing something like that here. Like start, like chatting something.
Well, we'll take you to Juarez.
Yeah, dude.
Just tell them that.
Yeah, there's games we got like batteries thrown at us. I don't know what you're talking about.
Batteries?
Yeah.
Like fucking like small batteries, like the ones you put in your road and shit.
We went, which is crazy because like, El Paso doesn't have any pro teams, so like soccer's big. So we had a lot of people come over and watch us play. But we went over and played the Mexican national team in Chihuahua, and oh man, our fans that were our fans last week were not our fans that day.
Like that, dude. Yeah, because they sell out for the national team. They're like fucking Mexico. Yeah, that's crazy. So fuck, imagine getting hit with a fucking battery. You know what? You know why that's dangerous is because they're heavy, but you could throw them fucking fast.
Long time.
Yeah. God bless. That's scary. Okay. So then you ended up fighting on UFC-202 also, right?
Yeah. Diaz McGreggor. Yeah.
Right. That's what's up. That's like, I think I remember seeing fucking that, like a picture on your social media. And I was like, no way. What the fuck, dude? Like,
no.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, and like I said, I hadn't fucking probably seen you in a long ass time. And I saw that and I was like, it's my girl. I can still take her though.
Never tapped out.
Never tapped.
That's crazy.
So I was that experience.
That was another crazy one. I had just beat, who did I beat? I don't remember who I had just won. And then they called me and were like, hey, do you want to fight on 202? And I was like, yeah, because in my head, I'm thinking Gregor Diaz. Yeah, I'll fight on 202. And then they send me my contract and I sign it. And then I'm looking over it and I'm like, shoot, that's 3 weeks of training and then the fight. So I only had 4 weeks to train for that fight. Well, three working weeks and then fight week.
Yeah, you fought on July 13 against Cristina Stanciu.
Yeah, Cristina Stanciu.
And then you fought again, your next fight on August 20th.
So that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So like real fast, before we get into the UFC card, like when you're fighting at a normal pace, like how long do you like take off from training after a fight? Like, is it like a week or what's the recovery time?
It all depends. It all depends on how the fight goes, and it all depends on what injuries you had going into that fight as well. You know what I mean? Bumps and bruises and things. And then also it just depends on if you get a phone call or not. You can get a phone call 2 days later if you're good to go and they know you're ready to go, or you could sit and just wait and be ready to go and be like, hey, like I'm ready to fight. And they're like, all right, we'll get you a fight. And then you're like, hey, and then you're like, hey, like I haven't fought in 4 months. They're like, oh yeah, we'll get you on. And then, like shit, like, and it's hard to train because like people don't understand, like we don't have an off season. Right. It's not like football, basketball, soccer. You have an off season. It's you don't know when you're gonna fight at all. You literally have to stay in shape and you have to be ready to go, because if you get the phone call and you say no, you don't know when you're going to get that phone call again, because we're independent contractors. So
does your training change like with each fight?
It adapts to the opponent a little bit. I mean, mine does. Mine adapts to the opponent a little bit depending on what they specialize in. But for the most part, I just continue to try to get better.
Right.
I just want to be a different fighter going into the cage, because like everyone wants to game plan for a fighter who's say a striker, but who knows if they just haven't had to use their jiu-jitsu,
right? Or
they haven't had to use the wrestling. So you never know. And also they're training as well. They're training everything. They're not like just only going to the gym and striking. Like they're training everything. So
dude, that's so
you don't know
scary,
what kind of opponent you're gonna get.
That's so scary, bro. I don't know if
and then not only like, to me, the scariest part is like the level of competition that you could potentially face. You know what I mean? When they're like, you're like, oh, hey, guess who you're fighting? Not only is it just like another opponent, it's like, oh, it's this guy or it's this lady. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's in 10 days.
Yeah. And it's in fucking like Brazil. So get your shit together and let's fucking go. You with? Are you down? You know what I mean?
And that's pretty much how it's presented to you. It's like, you want this fight or not? And you're like, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of need to pay some bills. Like,
yeah, because then you still have that aspect of like, okay, I still need to be able to like make a living. So yes, I need to take that into consideration when people are approaching me for fights. You know what I mean? That's like another fucking thing that people don't think about it. Like, you know?
Yeah, we don't make millions of dollars and we don't have signing bonuses and, you know, unions and,
yeah, I like the way you said independent contractor.
We're an independent contractor. We can get a contract and have a 4-fight deal, win all of our fights, and they can cut us.
Right.
We could get a 4-fight contract and then they say, I really don't like your name. I'm gonna cut you. Right. You know, you can say something on Twitter and they don't like it and they can cut you.
Yep. It's crazy.
It's just how it is.
So UFC-202, you fought Randa Makos, right? And you ended up actually winning that one. Yes. How was that? How was that card? I mean, obviously the atmosphere there was probably crazy, but like, did that card stand out to you, like apart from any other ones that you had previously been a part of?
That one a little bit because she had never been submitted before, and she's known as a jiu-jitsu girl, and I submitted her, so I was happy with that. But other than that, no, it didn't stand out any. The only thing that really stands out for that fight card was the first fight that I met Donald Cerrone, like not met him, but like fought on a card with him. And we were in the same workout area all week. So I kept seeing him throughout the week. And after weigh-ins, you go and you do like a meeting with Dana. Dana sits down in front of the fighters and he's like, this is going to be the best fucking card of the year. And I'm giving out fucking and he's just dropping F-bombs and his vibes going. And Donald Cerrone's sitting back behind me and he's kicking the back of my chair. And it's those chairs that kind of like, so I'm sitting there like this. I was like, and I'm just like, motherfucker, like, he's just this guy, and he was just fooling with me, as a newer fighter. And so that's what I remember a lot. And then also the ceremonial weigh-ins, like Connor. He was in the back, and his persona is so different when he's just himself, and then when he sees the camera on him, he instantly like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and it was a younger Connor too. You know what I mean? It was still a younger Connor, and just to see how he's evolved from then to now is pretty cool.
That's crazy. I wanted to ask you: has it always been Cortney Cast Iron Casey?
Yep, it's always been Cortney Cast Iron Casey.
What how did you come up with that? Is it just like
it was given to me. Fight names are normally given to you. Some people make up their own, which is weird, or they change it because they want to. They're going through stages in life, who knows? But fight names are normally given to you. So it was in El Paso. I was training out of a gym out there, and I was obviously the only girl in the smallest person in the gym by at least 50 pounds. I think the smallest person that fought at that time was at like 155 or 145. And we would do these round robins. So like fresh man in every time. And there's this big, huge guy, I can't remember his name. And he was like, you're like a little cast iron skillet. You just get thrown in the fire and you come out unscathed. And I was like, hey, okay. And then I was like, that's my name, I guess.
Hey, Chris would have been like, Chris No Tap Marquez.
Yeah. Chris No Tap. Yeah, I think that's a good fighter name, right? People would be like, well, automatically the first thing they're going to think is like, I'm going to tap this guy's fucking out. Right? That's the first thing they're fucking saying. With
this guy probably doesn't pay for his tab either.
That shit's funny. Okay. So one of the, and we talked about this off mic, but there's a fight that you were involved in, and it was a UFC 211 against Jessica Aguilar. That one was like, I don't know if it was like a controversy but like some things happened after the fact, right? That kind of like they almost took the W away from you. Like,
no, they did.
Or they did, right? But then like
then they gave it back.
Yeah, they repented and like, here you go. Yeah.
This fight was in Texas.
True. Okay.
So each state has their own commission.
Right.
So the Texas Boxing Commission is different than the Arizona, California, whatever. They all have different rules and regulations. So we're on the bus going to the venue, and we're told by a blue shirt, UFC blue shirt guy. So there's different colored blue shirts that help out throughout fight week and things like that. So they get on the bus and they're like, hey, no one go pee. Texas has decided to test everyone. They're testing everyone. And I was like, okay, sweet. You cannot fight until you get tested by the commission. We're letting you know. And if you miss your fight, you miss your fight because you didn't pee. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of what they said, because they're on a time schedule. So I get tested, and, you know, I pee in the cup or whatever, and they don't tell me what they're testing for or anything like that. And, you know, you just go because you want to fight. So we go, pee in the cup, and have my fight, win. Then I think it was like 2 days later, I'm back home, and I get a call from not my manager, but he's a manager of other fighters, and he helped corner me when I was in Brazil. And so I knew of him, and he was like, hey, you tested positive for steroids. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you tested positive for steroids. I was like, there's no way. And so I got on the phone with Jeff Novinsky, who is, he used to work for USADA. He's the guy that caught Lance Armstrong.
Oh shit. True. Damn.
So he's now works for the UFC on USADA's end. He's their contact. So Jeff Novinsky goes to the events and, you know, whatever. So I didn't get tested by USADA that day. I only got tested by the commission. So I called Jeff Novinsky, and I'm like, hey, Jeff, I just got a phone call saying I tested positive for steroids. And he's like, no one on the card tested positive for anything. And I was like, okay, well, I just got a phone call. And like within minutes, my phone starts blowing up. And Texas ran an article. Well, not Texas. MMA Junkie ran an article saying that I tested positive for steroids, which I didn't at all test positive for anything. My TE levels were elevated. So my testosterone to estrogen levels were elevated higher than what Texas has as a limit. But with a higher TE ratio, they have to do an additional test, which is an isotope ratio test. And Jeff Novinsky's like, dude, you didn't test positive. I'm looking, your TE levels are a little bit elevated, like all this stuff. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it was a 3-day weekend. Like, so I get a phone. I'm in the car. I'm freaking out. He's like, just relax. We're going to handle this. Like, don't reply to anything. Don't, you know, nothing. I was like, shit, you know, I got my mom calling me, my sister calling me. I got, you know, like it's everywhere. I live on Maui. It's all over Maui. I got people calling me like cheater and stuff in the like, oh, you're a fucking cheater, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. I get a phone call from Dana White, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yo,
Dana's like, yo, like, I talked to Jeff. Everything's good. We're gonna figure this out. You know, try to relax over the 3-day weekend. Like, we'll get this handled. Dude, like 2 weeks go by. I had other reporters like hitting me up trying to figure out what was going on. Texas keeps calling me. Their commissioner is like, hey, so what'd you take? Like, I'm like, dude, I didn't take anything and I didn't test positive. Like, you have to run this second test. So in the meantime, Jeff Novinsky's telling him, like, just with an elevated TE ratio, you have to run this second test to see if it's a foreign substance that's making the TE level rise, or if it's just naturally in your body. Yeah. Well, when you take birth control, depending on where you fall on your birth control, your TE levels go up and down. Some women just run high. Some women run low. It just depends It really just depends. He's like, so he had to use all of the evidence, all the testing that I've had taken from USADA previously, showed them that depending on what day of the month they were testing me, my TE levels were different, but they would always run the secondary test to make sure that it was clean.
Right.
And it was clean. So he finally, they had explained this to Texas, like, dude, we told you guys no one tested positive, and you decided to run this and say that she tested positive. And not only that she tested positive, but you said that she tested positive for steroids, right, which is a false claim. And so that all happened. They took away my win. I didn't get paid. Like UFC didn't pay me my second, like it was just a little bit weird because they had to figure it like legally, and it just sucked. And then finally, eventually I got like a generic email from Texas, like, oh, we reviewed some things and we went over and we understand that, we didn't take all the protocols we were supposed to, and your win has been overturned back to a win, and good luck in the future. And it's just like, what? like so like just nonchalant, like,
yeah, so
I had lawyers like telling me like you can sue Texas, like we're looking into that, and it was crazy. Like it was just a big old shitstorm. But Jeff Novinsky a couple of years later went on Joe Rogan and was talking to him about how he used USADA's program to catch Lance Armstrong. But then, and that was his, that's what he got famous for. But he also said that what he's most proud of is using USADA's protocol to prove that an athlete was innocent, which is my case.
That's so awesome.
It was pretty cool. Although I had to go through all that to deal with that, I understand now why USADA is implemented in sports, to make sure, one, it's clean, but also to make sure that we're not also being falsified as cheaters as well.
Yeah, because you don't want like these false allegations to get out there, because like, yeah, that's
I lost sponsors. I lost all kinds of money.
Yeah, and that's why like you could legally approach these guys and accuse them of like defamation.
Yeah,
just like what comes off the top of my head. You know what I mean?
It was a big thing, like, but I guess you can only sue the state of Texas. Like everyone is like a 2-day thing every 3 years or something like that. You present your case or something like that. Like something ridiculous. Like I had a lawyer looking into it, and I was like, man, it's not worth it. I just want this to be fixed, and I want a public apology.
Yeah. I would say like at least release a goddamn statement and clear my name.
So like me testing positive was front page on it. All kinds. The retractment was like page like 90. You know what I mean? Like, no one even heard about it.
Yeah, nobody even fucking read that shit. Okay, so yeah, that's crazy. So like,
so that happened.
Yeah, so but at least you got your win reinstated, right?
And I got my win reinstated, which was nice.
Yeah, because like considering all things, like you didn't like obviously, it kind of fucked you over, but at least to just say, hey, I got that fucking W. Like you're not gonna take that from me,
Yeah.
So we were looking at like the previous fights that you had scheduled, and your last scheduled fight was on Halloween of 2020, right? And then that one got postponed or canceled. What happened to that?
Canceled. The girl showed up really, really big. So I moved up to 125 pounds. So 2 fights ago, I fought my first fight at 125. So I had win at 125, then I had a loss at 125, and then I was gonna have this fight. And I showed up fight week, at like 134 pounds, not a lot of weight to cut, was ready to go. And my opponent showed up at 154 pounds, checked in at 154 pounds.
Yikes.
So I get a phone call from my manager, and I'm like, fuck. So I answered it. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, what's going on? He's like, why does it have to be bad news? I was like, dude, it's fight week. Like, it has to be bad news. Like, you don't call me just to say, like, what am I doing? He's like,
hey, what's up?
Yeah, hey, what's up? How you feeling? he's like, your girl's going to miss weight. And I was like, 130, that's it. Like, I'll do a catch weight at 130 pounds. Like, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to go for 125. I'm feeling good. And he's like, no way it's going to happen. It's going to have to be at 135 pounds. And I'm like, a whole weight class up? Like, 2 fights ago, I was fighting at 115 pounds. Now I got to fight at 135 against like, I'm like, fuck. But you put in a lot of time, a lot of effort into camp. Plus it's Corona camp, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Your training partners are scarce. You have to have your coaches come into your house. You have to pay your training partners to not go out and party and come back and give you Corona. So you have to like isolate them as well. It's just a lot of money and a lot of time on top of what a normal camp would cost. And so I'm like, man, all right. Like, and I feel good. I'm like, all right, this girl's overweight. Let's do it. So they resend me a contract. I sign it, fighting at 135 pounds. The Performance Institute, the PI, they're there to help make sure everyone cuts weight, and they're giving us our food from Trifecta and all that. So they hear about it. They start giving me a whole bunch of food. They're like, hey, we're going to pump you back up to 140 pounds. So you just like cut a little bit of weight, because she's so big. Like, you just don't want to just keep cruising around. And at 35, even though you feel good, like, we want to like refuel your body a little bit sooner than having to refuel a lot later. After the not cut, let's start giving your body a little bit more food. And I was like, all right, sweet. So I'm eating burritos and stuff, and like just kind of chilling at the Performance Institute, hitting pads, nothing crazy, not cutting weight. I don't got to cut nothing really. And Thursday night, I'm at 135 pounds. I'm going to bed at 135. So I just got done eating pasta and some food. I'm like, all right, sweet. But all that whole night, I was like, dude, there's no way. She's gonna miss weight. Like, this is like, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen if she misses weight? Do I still take the fight if she misses weight? Like, now I'm moving up pretty much a whole nother weight class. Like, I gotta weigh, and now I'm like, I have to weigh in after her, so I don't weigh in too less, because so say if she weighs in at 140 or 138 or 140, I would have to weigh in at 135 so that the commission will still let us fight, because there's a certain amount of weight that you can be in if you miss weight. Can't be too heavy, they'll just scrap the fight. So I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, okay, can't weigh in too early. Should I eat a little bit? Should I miss weight so that we can fight, kind of thing? Like, I'm thinking of all this stuff, and I'm like, you just gotta sleep. And then I get a phone call at like 6 a.m. from my manager. He's like, fight's off. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I guess she slipped and fell and then passed out. And I was like, okay, so she can't fight. And he's like, well, I guess she slipped and fell and hit her head and she started vomiting. So they called the emergency ambulance. They took her to the hospital. Your fight's off. I was like, fuck. So I slowly started hearing like the story of it. And like, at first it was like, she slipped and fell. Then it was she slipped and fell and hit her head. And then she slipped and fell, hit her head, and she started vomiting, and what he had said. But it was like a progression throughout the night of like what had happened. Nonetheless, I didn't end up getting to fight. And I went home that night. I just packed up my stuff, and they were like, all right, like,
see you.
There you go. Like, see you later.
Oh, shit.
And do you get like some like sort of compensation for that, or is it kind of just like, hey, well, you're on your own?
They gave me a little bit, but nothing, not even close to what I would have made.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm sure that's super disappointing for you.
Yeah, it's just tough because my coaches are training me off of a certain percentage of what they would get from my fight, and then I didn't make that, but I'm being the good person that I am, I still pay him off of that.
So wrapping up the UFC talk, it seems like you've been like super fortunate to fight in all these great fights, and I'm super happy for you. And like I'm sure you feel fucking like super accomplished. Like, that's so dope. So let's transition. Let's get ready to wrap up the podcast. We see that your son has joined us. Shout out to him. he looks tired, but
he looks
also
like a future fighter, dude.
Yeah,
that face looks like a future fighter. Look at him.
And you said his name was Kingston, right?
Yeah, Kingston. We call him King.
King. Yeah, great name. Okay. So what we're going to do, guys, like we like to do with our guests here, is do 5 random questions. We'll do 5 random questions and we'll wrap this up. Okay. So okay. You know what time it is?
I do. It is time for the 5 random questions here at Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast hosted by your boy, Chris Marcus.
Hey. Okay. So Miss Cortney, let's do these 5 random questions real fast. So what is one invention that you think needs to become a reality today? So like example, like flying cars, what do we need to have that we don't have right now?
Oh man. Flying cars would be awesome.
Hey,
I feel like something that like washes, dries, and folds your clothes would be dope.
Hey, a laundry bot right there. There you go. Or just a beer can that refills itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's called a wife.
Okay. Question number 2. Are you an iPhone or Samsung person? And why so? Like, why won't you use the other brand?
Samsung, 100%.
Whoa, shocker. Nice. Normally everybody says iPhone, but what would it take? No. What would it take for you to switch over to an iPhone?
Money. They would have to pay me to use an iPhone. I do not like it at all.
Damn.
At all. I also have problems with them. Like I always had problems with anything Apple.
True.
Like my iPods would always like not work and things like that. I don't know. Maybe have weird electronic energy going through my body, but it just doesn't work.
Do you see this iPod poster right here?
I see it.
She said take that shit off. Okay, so question number 3. I respect your answer. I'm like, I fuck with both of them. They both work. So.
I don't really care as long as I can make a call.
Yeah, right. As long as it works. Okay, so question number 3, would you rather have a total knockout in the last round, or would you rather end a fight with a rear naked choke?
Oh, first round KO for sure.
No,
just like off the bat, just blat.
First punch.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that feels better, right? Just knocking somebody out.
Yeah.
Putting them to sleep.
Okay, question number 4. Do you think it would be a good or bad thing if animals could talk?
Oh, I think that would be not good. Imagine what those donkeys would say at the show.
They're like, you won't believe what I saw.
Yeah. You won't believe what they made me do.
Yeah. Dude, somebody would have a family dog that's like a comedian. It would be hilarious.
Dude, or maybe like chickens. All you hear is like, my kids, when you're like making scrambled eggs or something.
Okay, last question. Question number 5. What is the most expensive thing you've ever broke? Like, was it like an accident? Was it on purpose? Like, what's the most expensive thing you've ever broke?
Man, I didn't break anything, but I did lose like 1 carat earrings. In El Paso.
Oh, we gotta look right, dude.
What are the bars right across the street? Like the one that everyone goes to.
From where? From UTEP?
From UTEP, yeah.
Like Cincy Bar and fucking.
Yeah, I think it was Cincy Bar. The one where you walk in and the bar's like right in the front, like a big long bar. Yep, and then there's like an outside. I think it's Cincy Bar.
She was probably in the middle of a fight or something.
Took my shirt off. I don't know why. Why? But I took my shirt off and I lost my earring. And I came home and I was like, what the hell? And I was like, damn it, that was an expensive earring.
I seriously thought you were going to say your tailbone.
Most expensive shit she ever broke. All right, guys. So let's wrap up this podcast. That was 5 random questions with friend of the podcast, Cortney Casey. With all that being said, guys, let's go around. We'll give our final thoughts and we'll be out of here. Misa, final thoughts on the podcast today.
Yes, Ms. Cortney Casey, I just want to say it was a pleasure to meet you. I think this is pretty cool. The fact that we're talking to a true athlete, UFC fighter, somebody that almost broke Chris's arm. I love it. Great episode. I wish you the best of luck in your career. Thanks for taking the time to being on our podcast. Everybody listening, Thank you. Make sure to stay safe and stay fresh.
Miss Cortney, final thoughts on today's pod?
I enjoyed it. One, I'm happy. Was it your sister or your cousin that just finally liked the podcast?
His sister.
My sister.
Oh man, see, shout out to your sister.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy talking to you guys. Hopefully we can do it again, and maybe this time I'll be able to drink.
Hey, there you go. Okay, guys, final thoughts, episode 61. Cortney, thank you for spending time with us today. Obviously, you got a lot going on. You got your boy Kingston here with us. Shout out to him. Shout out to your whole family. I'm super happy to have had you on here and glad to see you doing well. And it's kind of crazy to go back to our roots of how we met. But round 2 sometime soon. Is that cool?
Yeah, sometime soon. I'm fighting March 13th, so hopefully after that.
Okay, guys. So make sure that you guys, if you can, tune into that fight. Go support Casey on Instagram, Facebook. You can find her, Cortney Casey, real easy to find. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode 61, Conversing with Chris and Misa, the podcast. Misa, good job once again. With all that said, guys, like us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to YouTube. We are out.